Other mothers and caregivers stopped their conversations to listen. They don't want to go there. They're still scared from the trade center. I told you she won't take us. The older child, who was around 8, held her baby brother Clayton in her arms. Frankie opened her shopping bags and pulled out the pink poodle. Finette, I have some great new toys. She pulled out the poodle, and the dog began to bark to the tune of La Marseillaise. The girl gave Frankie the baby and took the poodle's leash. Thank you, Dr. Weissman. Mrs. Caesar raced out the door. As Frankie passed the baby to a nurse, she was blocked by Mrs. Adrian Strong Rodman, whose fringed Balenciaga leather jacket was now vibrating. Adrian Strong Rodman, J.D., Ph.D., claimed to be both a lawyer and a child psychologist. Somehow, after a brief stint as a Hollywood publicist, she reemerged as a high-powered entertainment lawyer with an expertise in children's advocacy rights. Her career profile changed again once she landed the multi-billionaire Paul Rodman. No longer able to contain her fury, Adrian Strong Rodman turned to Frankie. Listen, no one did more to raise money for social welfare in this town last year than I did. I work my ass off for diversity. But we've been waiting here for over 20 minutes, and that's unacceptable. Just sign this. Adrian pulled a piece of paper and pen from her white ostrich Hermes Birkin bag and put it in front of Frankie. Jessica needs a note for skydiving class. But Jessica's only 10. Frankie signed her name. Her father wants her to be fearless, and these days you need to be prepared. Have a nice day. She grabbed Jessica and the royal nanny, turned on her crocodile slide, and walked out. Pippa Rose was already on her cell phone with the fast-breaking story. Adrian Strong Rodman just lost it in Dr. Francesca Weissman's office. Personally, I don't think she was entirely out of line. I love Frankie Weissman, but she should never have moved her practice. Frankie knew the move had been a gamble. She had made her reputation at Park Avenue Pediatrics, a well-heeled practice with a chic neighborhood clientele. But when she turned 40, Frankie began teaching preventive medicine at a series of daycare centers and elementary schools in East Harlem. Moving her own practice to 102nd Street and 5th Avenue was her attempt to accommodate both ends of her patient spectrum. But the truth was, Frankie had a long history of ambivalence toward the entire privileged New York landscape. She had moved to the Upper East Side from Queens when she was 12. Frankie's father, Abraham, was a manufacturer of women's hosiery who sent her to the Spence School simply because it was up the block. Abraham had few social pretensions, and he passed that trait on to his daughter. Frankie could not have found an office address more reflective of her personality than 102nd Street and 5th Avenue. She knew that if she had a world, the 5th Avenue one was it, but she was most comfortable on its fringes. Mrs. Santorini, I'll be with you and Brooke in a minute. Frankie smiled at them and walked back into her office. As soon as she sat down, the phone rang. Dr. Weissman, Mrs. Schultz is on the phone. She says it's an emergency. She picked up the phone. Hello, Frankie Weissman here. Mrs. Schultz's voice was quavering. Dr. Weissman? Taylor has swollen glands and she's sweating. I think there's a rash on her hand, and Zitomer Pharmacy has run out of Cipro. She doesn't necessarily need Cipro, Frankie said calmly. It sounds like it could be all sorts of things. Should I rush her to an emergency room? I would bring her here first. Tell Rosita to make an appointment for today. Ever since the first anthrax case was reported in New York, Frankie got at least 200 calls a day for Cipro. Mothers like Mrs. Schultz were constantly on the brink of biological warfare. Brooke, this way, please. You're in room 3. Irina, the Russian nurse, escorted Brooke and her mother into the examining room. Frankie asked Brooke to breathe deeply and put her stethoscope on the child's toe. Is this your heart, Brooke? The girl giggled. No! Frankie put her stethoscope on Brooke's elbow. Is this your heart? The child began shaking her head no and laughing. You're silly, Dr. Weissman. Finally, Frankie put the stethoscope on her chest. Stop, Dr. Weissman, stop. This is my heart. Thank you, Brooke, thank you. I would have never guessed. Brooke grinned triumphantly as Frankie continued the examination. Frankie was only running an hour late when Brooke left, and by 7 o'clock, she had caught up with herself. "Have you seen this, Dr. Weissman?" Rosita came into her office waving the latest issue of Manhattan magazine. "Is someone we know in it?" Frankie took a wry pleasure in the social escapades of her patients' mothers. "It's not about a patient, it's about you. They named you the best pediatrician in Manhattan. Here, look." She pushed the magazine in front of Frankie's face. "God, that's an awful picture." Frankie recoiled. "I don't think you look so bad." Rosita peeked her head over Frankie's shoulder. "You look like someone people could count on." As my stepmother Helen would say, looking like someone you can count on never found anyone a husband. And furthermore, they didn't say I was the best, just the best on the Upper East Side. Frankie put the magazine down. "Do we have any tuna fish?" "Aren't you going home for dinner?" Rosita asked. "No, I think I'll catch up on some things here." It was an answer Frankie used at least twice a week to savor the calm of being alone in her office. The staff kitchen was a small closet to the left of exam room 5. There was only enough space for a counter, a microwave, and an avocado plant that managed to grow without sunlight or water. Gulping a diet iced tea, Frankie reread her mention in Manhattan magazine. There was something almost detoxifying for Frankie about leafing through Manhattan magazine that night. It was the first issue since September 11th in which the magazine returned to business as usual, with shopping hints and local celebrity gossip. But she was caught off guard when she turned the page and saw a picture of a woman posing as a 1930s movie star, feeding a seal in the Central Park Zoo. When Frankie read the headline, "The Fashionable Mrs. Acton," she immediately recognized Samantha Acton from her 7th grade class at Spence. Even at that age, Samantha was the girl everyone else wanted to be. Samantha was beautiful then, and she was obviously beautiful now. Frankie opened another diet iced tea and began to read. Samantha Acton, in the style-blazing tradition of Mrs. Astor or Babe Paley, defines the social order. Friends say that her secret is she manages to make perfection effortless. Unlike the current flock of sunflower seed socialites, Samantha has a zany lust for life. In a time when things seem haphazard, Samantha, great-granddaughter of New York legends August Van Rensselaers and Virginia Carnegie, is a true thoroughbred. And on top of that, she knows everything there is to know about modern art, music, and dance. She also single-handedly spearheaded the restoration of the seal fountain in the zoo in Central Park. After 9/11, Samantha made certain that the daily public seal feeding was back on schedule for the children of the city. Frankie wondered what the seals thought of Samantha's ball gown. She continued to read. She is credited by everyone with having the foresight to abandon vertically stacked sashimi and reintroduced roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. Finally, the signature of a truly A-list New York party is having Samantha Acton singing barefoot before the last guest departs. Frankie put down her diet iced tea and leaned back in her chair. Samantha's joie de vivre seemed so untimely now, so much even of the previous century, that Frankie found it anachronistically comforting. Judy Tremont came to the Frederick Fekkai salon twice a week for maintenance. She accepted this schedule as part of her social contract, but between her grooming, running, and redecorating her 2 homes, her 4 children, and her husband Albert, Judy was stretched to the max. Even with a personal assistant, a calligrapher, a dog walker, 2 housekeepers, and a cook, she still honestly felt she couldn't get everything done. Or more important, she couldn't get anything done right. In a concerted effort to multitask, Judy usually had a manicure during a blow-dry. Judy maintained her thick black hair in a chic geometric blunt cut and prided herself on a strand never being out of place. Unfortunately today, her favorite Thai manicurist was off duty, and she certainly wasn't going to take a chance on one of the Russians. Making the best of a bad situation, she ordered in a Cobb salad, hold the bacon, hold the dairy, dressing on the side. Having already devoured Harper's Bazaar, Town and Country, and W at the facialists,